Hello, I am Eldritch, LD, different names for me. Um, yeah, you're probably wondering why I'm using this avatar instead of Loth, but honestly, it's mostly because I just want to use this one. So I'm just going to be doing these videos with this particular model for now until I decide to do something else again. I mean, as I said before, this is just for my personal studies, so yeah, the model itself doesn't actually matter. It's more of the content. So I am going to continue on with the content. It's just using this model for now, unless I at some point feel like going back to doing loathing. So until then, this is just the model that I will be using, and I will be doing my own voice until then, just because it's weird using a male's voice on a female model, in my opinion. Anyways, so yeah, we will just get started on studying as we left off at, let me see, we left off at Genesis chapter 22. So we are going to continue on with that one. So, as usual, I'm just going to start reading from Genesis chapter 22. The verses will be at the bottom, so you can read along with the video if you would like. And anyways, sorry about that. My headset decided to die. Anyways, but I'll still be using my voice changer stuff when dealing with other characters. And yeah, simple as that. So, going to start reading chapter 22 of Genesis. And it came to pass these things that God did tempt Abraham, and said unto him,
Abraham.
And he said,
Behold, here I am.
And he said,
Take now thy son, thine only son Isaac, whom thou lovest, and get thee into the land of Moriah, and offer him there for a burnt offering upon one of the mountains which I will tell thee of.
And Abraham rose up early in the morning, and saddled his ass, and took 2 of his young men with him, and Isaac his son, and clave the wood of the burnt offering, and rose up, and went unto the place of which God had told him. Then on the 3rd day Abraham lifted up his eyes, and saw the place afar. And Abraham said unto his young men,
Abide ye here with the ass, and I and the lad will go yonder and worship, and come again to you.
And Abraham took the wood of the burnt offering, and laid it upon Isaac his son. And he took the fire in his hand, and a knife, and they went both of them together. And Isaac spoke unto Abraham his father, and said,
My father.
And he said,
Here am I, my son.
And he said,
Behold the fire and the wood, but where is the lamb for a burnt offering?
And Abraham said,
My son, God will provide himself a lamb for a burnt offering.
So they went forth of them together. And they came to the place which God had told him of, and Abraham built an altar there, and laid the wood in order, and bound Isaac his son, and laid him on the altar upon the wood. And Abraham stretched forth his hand, and took the knife to slay his son. And the angel of the Lord called unto him out of heaven, and said,
Abraham, Abraham.
And he said,
Here am I.
And he said,
Lay not thine hand upon the lad, neither do thou anything unto him. For now I know that thou fearest God, seeing thou hast not withheld thy son, thine only son, from me.
And Abraham lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, behind him a ram caught in a thicket by his horns. And Abraham went and took the ram, and offered him up for a burnt offering in the stead of his son. And Abraham called the name of that place Jehovah-Jireh. As it is said to this day, in the moment of the Lord it shall be seen. And the angel of the Lord called unto Abraham out of heaven the 2nd time, and said,
By myself have I sworn, saith the Lord, for because thou hast done this thing, and hast not withheld thy son, thine only Son, that in blessing I will bless thee, and in multiplying I will multiply thy seed as the stars of the heaven, and as the sand which is upon the seashore, and thy seed shall possess the gate of his enemies. And in thy seed shall all the nations of the earth be blessed, because thou hast obeyed my voice.
So Abraham returned unto his young men, and they rose up and went together to Beersheba, and Abraham dwelt at Beersheba. And it came to pass after these things, that it was told Abraham, saying,
Behold, Milcah, she hath also borne children unto thy brother Nahor.
Huz his firstborn, and Buz his brother, and Camuel the father of Aram, and Chesed, and Hazo, and Pildash, and Jipalth, and Bethuel. And Bethuel begat Rebekah. These 8 Milcah did bear to Nahor, Abraham's brother. And his concubine, whose name was Rumah, she bare also Tebah, and Gaham, and Thalhash, and Macha. So, that is chapter 22 of Genesis. Normally I would explain something like every 5 verses, but this is a pretty straightforward story as well as pretty well known. So I didn't really feel the need to explain everything from every 5 verses. So I will just do the thing that I try to avoid in this instance and just explain everything at the very end. Basically, to summarize, Abraham was commanded by God to sacrifice his son at the altar, despite the fact, the whole thou shalt not kill rule. And instead of questioning it, he just did it. I mean, he didn't actually do it, because at the last moment the angel was like, hey, stop it. I understand that you will listen. I appreciate. So here's the lamb. Not necessarily in that way, because the lamb was there for them to sacrifice to God, but basically Abraham was told by the angel that he didn't need to actually sacrifice his son. It was just a test, and he passed. So basically, because he passed, he's going to be blessed to have lots of kids. And yeah, pretty much that is the end of that story. And then at the end it's, mentioning the kids and the concubines and, the list of children that he's going to have. So that is basically chapter 22. A very simple chapter, nothing too complicated. Might have questions in the case of why is the angel speaking and then saying stuff like being God or whatever. Basically it's just the angel speaking on God's behalf. So it's not that the angel is God, but the angel is speaking on behalf of God. The angel himself is not God, otherwise it wouldn't say an angel. It would say God said it, or God was here. Which is very interesting, because sometimes God was physically there. So I'm not 100% on when God is physically on the earth. Like in the case of eating with Abraham before the whole Sodom and Gomorrah destruction. But that's the only instance so far where God was physically on earth. Which is a terrifying concept in general, but, it's not so bad. But yeah, that is chapter 22 of Genesis. So I'll leave it at that. So as usual, remember, God loves you, I love you, and take care until we meet again.